This is everything you always wanted to know about Pathways, but we're afraid to ask. We have a panel of people, of Pathways, who are here to provide some guidance and some help. On the phone are Wesley Arnold, Sharon Marshall, Deborah Richards, and myself. We are also expecting Jody Bird and Dorothy Miller to join us. And we have a special guest all the way from District 2 who is joining us. Her name is Rebecca Murray, and apparently she is expert on Pathways. So we're going to find out what questions you have and what questions you need answered. We have the opportunity for you to enter in questions in the attendee chat. Feel free to ask questions all along the process, any questions you may have. We're not going to do a formal presentation, but what I am going to be doing is I'm going to be asking some of our Pathways guides some questions about how challenged they have been and some of the challenging questions that they have seen from the Pathways guides visits that they've done so far to the clubs. So without further ado, I'm going to just start to do a quick check. So with first on I had was Deborah. I appreciate all the work that you guys are doing, all the Pathways guys are doing, and I know it's a challenging task to get out there and see these clubs, present information on things that you're not necessarily as comfortable about as you would like to be. So it's a challenge to get up to speed on the Pathways. So what are some of the things that you've been asked with or challenged with that have gotten you caused you to think about it and say, that's a good question, and then go find the answer to? Yeah, I had a bit of an echo, but keep going. Who's causing the echo? Talk again. We'll see if we can unmute it. Hi,
okay.
Joining.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. So I think it was really more about the challenge of knowing what was there was so much information. And I sort of got that overwhelm from everybody. And that continued for a few meetings, I think. But what I did after that was to provide the information on what's in each of the paths and hand it around as a handout, and then speak to what is common between the paths and what is not. And that seemed to have helped a lot. And I think my other challenging question, and I'm not sure I answered it right, was whether or not there is an app for getting into the Pathways learning experience. And I don't think there is. So that's one of those questions I haven't quite answered yet. And I'll have to check with World Headquarters for sure. Or Rebecca might know.
Okay, well, we'll have to find that out. One of the suggestions, by the way, from one of the listeners is that check to see if your speakers are on. If they are, you may want to turn them down.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone know, is there an app out there for Pathways? Other than, obviously, you can log into the website and get access to the Pathways remotely through your smartphone just using the web app. But is there a specific app for Pathways that's planned?
This is Rebecca, and I can tell you there's definitely not an app, and there are no plans for there ever to be one. The back end is so robust, and of course this isn't something that Toastmasters created. It is adapted from another platform, and it is just too enormous for there to ever be an app that would be suitable.
Okay. Well, that was very good information. I appreciate that. I like the fact that you can do it through a smartphone and just access the website. I think that makes more sense in a lot of ways. And from what I've seen, it's very efficient and easy to use, so it's not like a heavy burden to access it. From what limited access I've been able to get right now through a smartphone, so I like that.
Yeah.
But that's good. Appreciate that, Deborah, that insight. I'm going to skip Rebecca just because I want to bring you back at the end, and you may help out. But Wes, what are some of the challenges that you've identified? Some of the things that you've learned that you didn't otherwise know.
So challenges or questions? Yeah, so I've had a couple of really good questions, and probably my most challenging question was about the difference between an HPL project in the traditional program and the DTM project in Pathways. So
what have you found?
So what I found so far is the Pathways projects build on the learning that you do through the pathway, and the project itself has to benefit an organization. Whereas in a traditional program, you have another number of options of what is acceptable for the project.
Right.
So essentially,
sorry, go ahead.
very similar, but there's a couple of added requirements for the DTM project in Pathways.
Right. Well, I noticed that I'm just completing an HPL, my second HPL, and one of the things I found out is the focus is really on what you've learned to be as far as leadership. It's focused on what you've learned to make you a better leader. Though the project can be about anything, it's just the intent is that from an HPL is that you're focusing on leadership, whereas I think the DTM project for Pathways is about the path. It's related to what you've learned along that path, and so it could be about leadership, but it could be about communications or any specific aspects that you were trying to achieve within that path. Good comment. Anyone have any comments on what Wes has identified within with the HPL versus that one? Then okay, jumping along to Sharon Marshall. Sharon, what are some of the questions, or one of the questions that have challenged you that you think has been that you've learned from to think about?
Hi, Shawn, and everybody. I guess one of the questions I was asked over and over again involved the evaluations and people just trying to wrap their brain around how the evaluations are going to take place with the Pathways program. And so explain that to people. I guess the thing that people are having a bit of trouble with is the fact that you can do your evaluations online, and so you can bring a tablet to the meeting or your laptop to the meeting, and you can actually fill in the evaluation. It's a fillable form, and so that's something that I think it's great myself. But yeah, I've just been trying to help people understand the evaluation process.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure if everyone heard that one. It's a little bit hard to make out, but you're talking about the evaluations, and I appreciate that, just the differences in the evaluations and being able to do them online. That is one of the questions that I've had, and I haven't quite got it answered. Maybe you can answer it, or someone on the call, someone who's here in the one of the guides can answer it. Can a person who's doing your evaluation enter the evaluation online in your path? Can they go into the Pathways and provide your evaluation digitally, enter it in electronically?
Yes, they can. Yes.
Okay, so I know that you give them the paperwork, and that's one of the things. You can send them electronically. You can email them the evaluation forms, so that they can then in turn go into Pathways and enter that information in.
From what I understand, most of the forms are fillable. There may be a few that aren't fillable, but most of them are fillable. And so, yes, you can enter it on directly online. And so.
I actually know a little bit about this. If I could share, this is Rebecca. Sure. Yes, most of them are fillable. In fact, if you within Basecamp, there's one widget that says evaluations, and every single evaluation for every single project, and they are all fillable, are right there, so you can go in and find them. But what you have to do is you have to download that to your computer or device first, rename it, save it. What they suggest is you put the date and your initials next to it, then fill it out, then they suggest emailing it to the speaker that you're evaluating. And then it's their choice to either upload it to their file in Basecamp or just put it in a folder in their desk.
Okay. There's
no requirement to upload it, but you do have to download it and save it. If you just fill it out online, it will not be saved.
Oh.
You have to download it first, save it, rename it, and then email it. Attach it to an email and email it to the speaker.
So if you're evaluating a speech in the meeting and you had your smartphone with you, it would not be advisable to actually type in the evaluation into the
That is correct.
Right. Okay,
Yes.
so you still want to, okay.
Yeah.
They do it as an offline file and then
Yes.
email it to them is probably the best way. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that one, Cheryl. Sharon, about the evaluation form. That's really good. Let's see, Jody, did you join yet?
Yes.
Hi, Jody.
Hi.
How are you doing? So that you had to race home from a meeting, and I appreciate you joining us. So, was there something that you've learned through some of the questions that you've been challenged in the clubs that you found interesting that you would like to share with the members on the phone?
I don't have anything specific. Everyone's incredibly enthusiastic and excited about joining it so far that I've seen. It's been really positive, and I'm quickly checking on stuff that I hear that I'm not sure that I've been given the same information, so I'm just double checking some stuff.
Okay, good. Appreciate that. By the way, if you guys have questions, I'm doing this as a filler to give you an opportunity to type in your questions so we can get some feedback from you about, so we can answer any of your questions. We'll do this as we have this panel here to be able to answer your questions. So please feel free to type them in. And I'm making sure that I'm actually able to see the questions. I can see anything you type in as notes, and I'm hoping that. Okay, and let's see. Dorothy, did you join? Dorothy, you there? Not there. Okay, Rebecca, I'm going to let you answer that question that came up. What have you seen or heard that you think is really challenging that was a good question?
Well, I can tell you a question that I answered incorrectly that I learned the correct answer to today. And that was, someone asked, if you get the printables, we do have a number of people I found in the clubs who plan on, at least at this point, ordering the printable pathway, the print version, the paper version. And so the question was, will they have access to Basecamp as everyone else? And for some reason, I thought that I heard no, but the real answer is yes. They will have access to Pathways just like everyone else. They will have access to the videos, the interaction with the club through by giving feedback and badges, all of that. And they can also keep track of their project if they choose in Basecamp. They can also choose not to go online at all. It's up to them completely. Which makes it a little more difficult, I would say, for the VPE to keep track, because one of the advantages that I see in Basecamp is that you can see where everyone in the club is. If everybody's working in Pathways, in one screen, you can see where everyone is, and that's fantastic.
Right. Yeah, that will be the benefit. That will be the advantage, is to be able to see where everyone is at.
But the paper folks maybe not, if they're not entering information in.
So how different is that going to be from what, are you familiar with EasySpeak?
Yes. Well, no, not EasySpeak. We use FreeToast Host.
Okay, well, FreeToast Host doesn't actually track performance typically, at least not that I'm aware of, but I know that EasySpeak can track performance. So you can, when you finish a project, you can see that you've completed a project, although you don't have any information about the project per se, but you know that you've completed.
FreeToast Host just keeps track of roles and projects so that you can export it as a Excel spreadsheet and see what everybody's done. That maybe that was something they added last year, I think.
So, Rebecca, can I just ask a question?
Sure.
It's Wes, and on the TI webinar several weeks ago, they mentioned that if you bought printables, you wouldn't have access to the pathway.
Yes, they did say that.
But you would have access to Basecamp and all the other functionality.
That's what I learned as well. That's what I opened to everybody.
That's right. Yes.
So is that what you're saying now?
Yes. That's what they reinforced today. And for some reason, I was thinking that, well, first of all, if somebody got the print version, do they even want to go online? Is that the reason why they don't, want to buy the or want the path online, the whole online experience? Why would somebody get paper and then also go online? So it's up to them whether they go online and interact with the club and keep track of their projects and all of that if they buy the paper version.
Well, some people do like the paper. I can understand it. Some people like to have the hard copy and want to have the manual so that they can work on them away from home and don't have a mobile device that allows them to connect up easily or not comfortable doing that. So I can see why people would want to do that. Well, they have both. So when they get home, they can actually do the online stuff, but when they're working away from home, they can do the
in that case, Shawn, would they not have to buy the online version and then print?
Yes, they would have to
do a print copy of the online.
I think the online is automatic anyway. The print is incremental cost. So if you're entitled to the one free path when you start, when we start, unless of course you belong to more than one club, and then you get a second path free. Please note that means you have to belong to a second club before March 20th, before our go live date. If you do belong to two clubs or more, then you are entitled to a second path free. My understanding is that you'll get two paths. From that, though, you could, I can't remember where I was going to go with this. Once you've got, when you have that path, once you've got it electronically, which is what the default is, I believe that then there's a $25 US charge to have a printed copy as well, if that's my understanding. You do get the electronic, but then you get the printed copy as an incremental.
Yeah, I guess that was the point that I was trying to clarify. In the TI webinar, they had indicated that it was a different product and you would not have access to the electronic pathway.
That's correct.
That is correct based on the Navigator. Because there is no access to your path online. You cannot take the Pathways assessment. You only have 5 English paths. You only have 2 in non-English languages. There are limited elected projects because they aren't going to include ones like doing a blog if you're accessing print material only. Mm-hmm. You are not able to watch educational videos in projects. You are not able to complete interactive activities and quizzes. That's the way I read it from the Navigator, page 13. And that's what I've been going with.
Okay.
That's interesting because today, did you go on the webinar this week? I asked that, to clarify that, and the gal that does the webinar said that training videos will be accessible even if you do the printed path, which is a conflict with the Navigator manual. So perhaps there are some videos that are accessible and others that are not. That could be.
That could be, and I know I was watching the video on how to print certificates as a VP Ed and Basecamp manager, and they said if someone is doing the online assessment, it comes up as a printable certificate that's immediately available. If they've done the printed path, you have to actually download it and add in all the information yourself. So that would make me think it's not coordinated. If you choose the printed, the way I understand it is they'd sort of be locked out of that section of the website. So we're going to have to get another. I have noticed that just like us, we're all learning, and I've noticed that they have said stuff on the fly that sort of directly contradicts the printed stuff that are the master Q&A.
I've noticed that too. Yeah.
Okay, I'm capturing that one. I'm going to capture that question and make sure that we provide by the way, anything that we can't answer directly in this call today, I will try to capture those questions and submit the answers on our website. By the way, I am going to check. And Jody, good to see you. Good to see you. And by the way, I see that Dorothy is online now. Dorothy, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you that question. I think that you're the only person I missed on that. The question that I asked at the beginning was, what are the things that you've learned? What is one thing that you've learned that you found interesting in your Pathways guide journey so far? You'd like to share with the rest of us?
I think that there's nothing new that I haven't heard already covered. And to be quite honest, the clubs that I've visited, the feedback that I've got, there has not been any questions that are really stumping people. It's all been really basic, and they're just open and eager to get online and start. So the questions have been really basic. I haven't been found anything that has been really challenging.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Okay, I'm going to address some of the questions I've seen online now. Just for Roberta, you don't have to have your camera. Don't worry about it. Glad that you're able to get connected on the phone because of the packet loss issues you're seeing on the website. Okay, this question comes from Tim Burchell. I understand that the existing members have 2 years to work with the current education track. What happens if we do not complete our goals in this 2-year period? For example, I have 3 AC ESG is in brackets to earn my DTM. What happens if I only complete bronze, silver, gold, and only complete bronze and silver within a 2-year period? Who wants to take that question? That question.
Who wants to give him the bad news? Who wants to tell him he needs to get his DTM?
I don't mind giving Tim the bad news. So here's what I'll do. I'll throw out the bad news. You guys correct me if I'm wrong, and you make him feel better if by chance I say it wrong. So Tim, here's the deal. The time frame is 2 years after the last region, Toastmasters International region, goes live. So it's expected that the last region will go live on June 30th, 2018. 2 years from then will be June 30th, 2020. If you have not completed your ACG, you've got your ACS, then you will have this wonderful ACS, Advanced Communicator Silver designation. You will not be able to get a classic level Toastmasters DTM ever if you've only completed the ACS. So that's where you're going to be at. If that's where you end at that 2-year period, that's where you'll be forever under the traditional classic system. Should you at any time choose to work either in parallel with the pathways or switch over directly to pathways, of course you can get a DTM on pathways. And the pathways process, or the process to get that DTM, is a little bit different, but it's not significantly complicated. But if you have completed whatever you've completed by the end of that 2 years is frozen, and you have that designation for life. But you cannot go beyond that after that 2-year period. Now, does anyone want to correct me or add anything to potentially make Tim feel a little better about that?
You did a good job.
You got it right.
I'd like to comment on that. Can you hear me, Shawn?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay. So my comment is that projected date that the last region goes live is just that, a projected date. So the good news is if that date gets pushed, then you're going to have more than June 30th. So that's the good news.
There we go. Thank you for that. It's possible it will slip. So far, though, things have been going on plan, so it's not definite that it'll slip. There's not even likely at this point in time it'll slip.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also wanted to add, what I've been encouraging the clubs that I've been visiting, and people have been asking that question, is for them to think about completing their current level, whatever it is, and then switching into pathways. And I think that has helped a lot of people to sort of go, okay, I've gotten to a level that works for me, and then I'll switch into pathways. So if they're almost finished a CC manual, I'm encouraging them to finish it and then switch into pathways, because they've accomplished a level wherever it is, and they get that satisfaction and that motivation, then that will allow them to then just switch over after that. And that has been pretty well received.
Thank you. I agree with that. I agree with that, Deborah. I think that's the right approach. And
Can I comment on that?
Sure, go ahead.
I had that question come up today at my presentation, and my approach was slightly different. I told them, yes, please, by all means, stay on your path and continue it. But do go on to base camp, do get your assessment for a new path so that it doesn't mean you have to actually start doing the Pathways project, but get yourself online so that you become familiar with it. So that by the time that you're ready to switch, you've had some experience of going to base camp and being able to navigate it rather than being cold turkey and everybody else is way far advanced.
Yeah, that's a good too.
And to interact with your club on base camp, even if you're not working on a project. Giving people badges for courage or whatever, sending people, you weren't the evaluator, but you have something to share and you can communicate with them through base camp. So to do all of that, I think there will be many Toastmasters who will do that, but won't be working on a pathway for a little while.
Any other comments on that? Yeah, I'm going to answer. So there's some questions coming up under the messages, under the chat, plus there's coming up through the questions. So I'm going to bounce back and forth and try to ask these questions so everyone can see them. Do you have to do the mentorship project in level 2 for each pathway? Let's take that one.
I can. Jody can. No, it is a separate program. You can open it after you've completed level 2 of a path, and you cannot get the Pathways mentorship badge, the proficiency in that, until you've completed one level. Or sorry, not one level, one path. Once you've completed a path, you can be designated as a Pathways mentor, and it's just one time through those projects. That's the way I understand it.
So you have to complete all levels in a path in order to do a mentorship project?
You can open it and start working on it after you've completed level 2 in your path, but you cannot be designated as a Pathways mentor until you've completed all the projects in the Pathways mentor program, plus one complete path. You have to be proficient.
I'm not sure what Ian's question was directly, but it says, do you have to do the mentorship project in level 2 for each pathway? So I think he's asking something about mentorship within each path. I'm not sure if there is there a mentorship component in each path?
I think they're thinking of the mentorship project. It's only available to you to pull it into your transcript. Once you've completed level 2, it's an optional program at no extra cost. But you can only access it after you've reached level 2 of one of your paths.
Okay, but you don't have to do it in each one. It's an optional. Just you.
No, it's an optional piece.
Okay, thank you. There was a question. Sorry?
Can I comment there?
Sure, absolutely.
My understanding of that was that there is an introduction to it in once you've completed level 2. And then once you've done that introduction, then you can get to the actual separate mentorship program per se. So my understanding is they just wanted to introduce you to the program. So that is probably, or it should be, in every path, but it doesn't mean that you have to pursue it. It's an introduction.
Good clarification. Thank you for that. Okay. Roberta was asking about the start date. Is it actually March 20th? Because she had been told she saw something that said March 15th. And at this point in time, unless somebody can correct me, we are planning a rollout party for the region on March 20th at 8 p.m. And an online virtual rollout party. And if anyone wants to join onto that, we can probably have it have lots of people doing. We want to have clubs join in. We want to have everybody go in. We don't want you to log into Toastmasters for the first time on March 20th, so make sure that you've logged in, you got your ID and all that stuff in advance, and then go and do your Pathways assessment and figure out which path you're doing and get logged in, do all that stuff, and that'd be a fun thing to do. So we'll put a real load on the system on March 20th, but it'll be a lot of fun to do that. Yeah, March 20th is the date. I haven't heard of any slippage in that, and I have not heard of anything moving it, bringing it forward like to March 15th.
I'm pretty sure, this is Deborah, I'm pretty sure we will get there. The statistics that came out tonight said between regions 1 and 11, we're at 67.2%. The statistics have jumped quite a lot. In District 21, we're over 73% of the clubs have been visited. So sure we're going live on the 20th.
I have a question about that. If we were to all log on March 20th at 8 p.m., is there a chance that there would be, it would crash?
I think so.
You know, there's a chance. Maybe we could do that just for fun. What's the worst thing that will happen?
Yeah. It might be a good problem to have.
Yeah, it would be. That's why they are saying, and I talked to Sally Cohen during our mid-year training about this. She said, please have people do their online registration. Make sure they're registered within Toastmasters International online in advance of the March 20th of the go live date, because that takes the most amount of load. And so if people want to register and do the assessment, apparently the system can handle that. But if we're doing the registering for Toastmasters International online website, at the same time, that could put an added load that they may not be able to handle. But, you know, it could be fun if we knock it down. I'm not saying to do that, but it might be fun to see that we had so many people that were keen and eager that they knocked it down. Okay, can you print the manual or the pathway you are working on from the computer? Well, yes. Who wants to field that one? This is from Darlene Marilee.
I think Jody already answered it for them. Yes, you can print a lot of the material, so you do have access to do that once you're online.
Yeah, you can print it, and the thing is, the key areas you're going to want to print are going to be the project information, so you're prepared and organized for it, and then the evaluation, which you would hand to your evaluator. All right, okay, I'm going to go back to, let me see, I got more questions in the chat, so let me go through that. I see you've answered that online. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Jody. Okay, Brian. Plus, you get the benefits from being at the Toastmasters in the, yeah, okay, like that. Roberta, from traditional to pathways. Okay, and did you answer that one, Jody? Is there any transference from traditional to pathways?
No.
There's no transference if you're 5 speeches into a competent communicator. Those don't transfer over. But anything that you've done in service leadership, if you've been an area or district governor, or if you have been a club sponsor or a coach, and you haven't used that for a current award, you can use that on the new pathways. So once you get up higher and you're working on actually looking for a DTM, it says you need to serve 12 months. If you did that before Pathways rolled out, as long as you haven't used it for another award in the old program, you can use it.
All right. Anyone else want to add any comments on that? Okay, here's a question from Stephen Leung. If a new member joins and is paid up before March 20th, are they eligible to start a CCCL and also Pathways? Okay,
yes, I had that question last week, and it's come up a few times, and I double-checked with World Headquarters. If someone joins before 20th, they will get the CC and CL manuals, and they can go straight into a path once we go live. If somebody joins on March 21st, they are only eligible to go into Pathways.
There you go.
Can I add to that?
Sure, please.
And so if they join before the 20th, I would encourage them to work on their icebreaker speech in Pathways.
Yeah.
They can do that on the Pathways website now. And I actually encourage all members that are going to continue with Toastmasters after the 20th or after March 31st to get familiar with the icebreaker speech in Pathways now and prepare to deliver an icebreaker speech in Pathways.
Yes, thanks for that clarification. I did
got
that.
Some background noise there. Got some background noise there, just to clarify. So, could you speak a little bit louder, just so we make sure we're able to hear you?
What did I miss? What did you miss?
Well, I didn't miss. It was hard. There was a lot of noise in it, a lot of static in it.
Oh, okay.
So you're saying that what was the date about March 31st? That went through me for a little bit.
Well, just April 1st. So when the dues, if you're going to.
Of course.
a continuing Toastmaster after March 31st, then I would suggest that you consider giving an icebreaker speech now in Pathways, because you don't have, you can do it before the launch date. You would just need to download a Pathways completion form, Pathways evaluation completion form.
But can you be evaluated?
This has rolled out in your region, then you can get credit for it.
I didn't hear the answer to that one. Can you be evaluated? You can't be evaluated before March 20th, before we go live.
Yes, you can for the Icebreaker project. If you go on the Pathways page right now, there is the early version of there's a sample Icebreaker project that you can do right now. And the process is you can do it now even before we go live. Then once there is a form that you'd fill out and send into World Headquarters, and they will credit your record with that Icebreaker.
Yes.
So the keeners that really want to get started can do it now.
Yes.
Yes. We have a new member in Discovery Toastmasters who just did her Icebreaker on Tuesday in Pathways.
Excellent. Okay, I like that. And I was wondering about that today because I was at a meeting where they had an open house and it had 6 guests, and I'm thinking, oh man, I don't even want to get into the discussion about the CCCL, because why would you get into that discussion?
Yeah.
It'll be gobbledygook to these people because they're not going to have to deal with it. They're going to hear other people talking about it, but it's going to be just noise.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the World Headquarters staff suggested. Really just getting new people who join in the next few weeks, just getting them to access that project, the Icebreaker project, and to start in that.
Well, and I think it's a good idea for just regular members who are going to continue on to be familiar with it and do it now as well. It just will build excitement and get people familiar.
Guide, I'm actually working with my VP Ed to do that. I will probably do the Icebreaker early in April, just to sort of model doing it as well.
We have a brand new club that we started last July, and we have a number of members who've only done 2 to 3 speeches. So we have one of those members tomorrow. He's giving his Icebreaker speech on the Pathways Icebreaker that we're all talking about here, because he's only done 2 in his manual, and why continue with that when he can? So I've encouraged him to redo his Icebreaker and the one that he originally gave, because he knows more now. He can make it even better, and he's going to give a version of that tomorrow. So I'm excited for him to start. He's blazing the trail for all of us. It's brand new Toastmasters.
Good story.
Well, and one of the things I tell everybody too is that, don't look at it as you've wasted these speeches, because we have a few in our club, the same thing where, I've got 3 or 4 speeches done. Should I continue? And I'm like, absolutely continue if that's what you want to do, because, you can get your CC, like your CC is still quite valuable. You'll always have that. And more importantly, you'll have the experience of giving all those speeches. You'll just be that much better.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we have to figure out as a district, but as individual clubs, what we're going to do is we want to make sure that we're able to provide guidance to the new members when they come on board. And we always are going to have new members. So these new members are going to be starting off on Pathways, and our frame of reference is going to be CL, CC, the whole traditional path. So we've got to get our head around what's going on with Pathways as senior members, or as members who've been around for anyone more than 6 months is a senior member now. And we want to make sure that you're able to provide guidance to those new members. We're not going to have those CC and CL. So I think we're obligated to get on board with Pathways to understand it, so that we can provide guidance and mentorship to the new members.
Yes, I agree.
That's a really good point, Shawn. Last week I had a club VP feeling frustrated that she didn't have all the information at her fingertips for that. And I was thinking that, a good way might be for us to have some talking points that people can use, because our frame of reference has always been the CL manual and their 10 speeches. And if we can find an elevator speech of some sort about the Pathways experience that we can share, that we can sort of commonly begin to promote, then that will be helpful for everyone.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to move, and I appreciate that, and I'm sorry I'm going to cut it a little bit short. I want to make sure I answer some of the questions here, more of the questions. I think I understand that we can choose, this is from Edwin Lee, I think that we can understand that we can choose any 6 of the 12 education goals in DCP. My question is, it's not any 6 of the 12, by the way, education goals in DCP. There's some specific ones. Instead of having one member getting an AC, can we have 4 members completing level 1 by June 30th this year to get same credits? So there is just so you know, and people, you guys, if Edwin asks a specific question, hopefully you have the chart, but there is a chart that shows what the levels are in order to get what you have to do in order to get those 6 credits, 6 education credits. And it is to get those 6 education credits within the Pathways, it's very specific as to what crosses over, and there are some level 1s. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, no, but you can have a mix and match of the Pathways education and the traditional, and there is a table that is provided on Pathways that shows which ones are allowed and how they equate. That,
if I can add to that, he is correct. It is any 6. It's not either or. And what can't happen is you can't do 1 CC and 2 level 1s and get a half and a half. But you can have 2 CCs and 4 level 1s and get credit for 2. They did say though that credit is only granted for 1 award per member, per club, per year for the transition. So for instance, if I myself hand in 2 competent communicator awards, I myself will get credit for that, but the club would only get credit for me completing 1. So 1 member may account for more than 1 goal, so they can get 1 level 1 and 1 DTM, but they may not earn 2 of the same level and get DCP credit.
That's so that they don't have 1 member who overwhelms and gets all the points?
Exactly. But I can finish off 1 CC and complete a level 1 and help the club towards getting 2 of their goals.
Right. Hopefully it answered your question, Edwin. I wasn't aware of that, so that's good information. Okay, let's see. I'm going to see who else has asked some questions over here and then jump over to the other one. Okay, I'm going to jump to the questions. Okay, it looks like all the chat's done. The actual role, I think I understand that we can choose. Okay, that was Edwin's question. Let's see, is there anything? If you order the digital product, can you pay? Yeah, we answered that one. I'm close to a Oh, here we go. I'm close. This is from Rick Rupenthal. I'm close to a DTM, maybe 1 or more a year. Should I continue? However, will it mean anything except to me as a classic DTM? Would like to.
I would say yes, continue.
Absolutely continue. But continuing doesn't mean that you cannot start Pathways. So absolutely continue, but get onto Pathways and get started on that as well.
I agree. So Rick, just a personal comment for myself. I am racing through completing my 2nd DTM, and I said I was going to have it completed before we rolled out. Pathways, so I'm working on my HPL is almost done. I'm going to do a speech either tomorrow night or next week. I'll get the speech on the project, and I've already got my ACG, so I just have to complete my HPL, and I've already got the club coach or mentor already credit. So that when that one goes all through, I should be able to get my DTM, and I should have it all before we roll out. So I'm just getting it in by the wire. But that was because I didn't want to be doing it in parallel. Not that I couldn't and that I shouldn't. I just thought I'd like to be able to do the switch myself. But as everyone is saying, carry on. Complete your DTM, your classic DTM. Do that. Plan to make sure it's done before that June 30th, 2020 date. And get your feet wet on Pathways. You need to start doing some stuff in here. Just do the odd project here and there. If you're getting close to getting your DTM, you're already working on advanced stuff anyway. So do that, but go back and do some of the basic stuff in Pathways, and it'll be a good refresher and a good experience to experience what the paths are like. Would be my recommendation. I don't see any other questions coming up, so I'm going to just take a look and see if there's anything else. If you guys want to have any more questions, please feel free to jump in, chime in, type in. And we are.
Can I ask? Somebody mentioned this, and I just wanted to clarify so that I understand it. Somebody was talking about when you go to select your path, you have to choose either digital or paper before. That's your first decision. And then if you choose digital, then you can click and you can take your assessment, and then you choose your path, right? So if you're choosing paper, then did somebody say there's a paper assessment that you can download? Is that what somebody said? Did someone say that? A paper,
that is not
printed assessment?
There is not a printed assessment, is my understanding.
Okay. So you only get the assessment if you choose the digital path, if you choose a pathway online. Is that right?
Correct.
I think that. Okay.
They clarified in the webinar that they cannot do it as a paper one because they have so much information on the back end on how you're answering each question to go to the next question. They're also not letting us have advanced look at it because they said that the first run through on the assessment is sort of their best picture of what one would work for you. So they said they also don't want people to sort of look over your shoulder while you do your pathway assessment quiz, because they said if you go out and go back into it, it sort of can muddle the answer, is the way they said it was set up.
Yes, and I remember the other thing they said is that you need to take it in one fell swoop. You can't start and stop, so you need to allocate 5 to 10 minutes, take it all the way through, because if you pause, you can't save it and come back if you get interrupted. You have to start all over.
So who here has taken the Pathways assessment?
We can't.
Well, that's not quite true.
I did.
True.
Shawn,
I've done it twice, by the way.
Yeah,
I did once at the International Convention. They had a tool there so you could do it, and I don't remember what the paths were that were selected. And I did it this week. I went online because it was available. I'm not sure if it was because I'm credited as a.
It was a glitch.
There was a glitch, and I went in there and did it, and it said, okay, to choose a path, and I chose a path. It gave me 3 choices, and I chose a path, and it came back and said, I'm sorry, there's a technical difficulty. We can't do that. And I'm going, okay, and I can't save it, so I have to do it all over again, because I don't even remember what the path was now. But it was a very cool process, and I'm going, okay, I'm hoping that I answer it correctly or consistently. But that they are taking a look at your answers and adjust the questions to qualify your answers, to reinforce or to make sure that they are giving you the best choices. And I think they give you 3 choices for your first path.
Yeah.
They give you 3 choices up front and say, what do you want to do? What are the 3 things that you think are important? And then they validate those as you go through it.
Fascinating.
So I did the same thing. I did the same thing yesterday as I took the assessment, and I got the same spot as you, Shawn. I chose my path, and then it said that the cart was not available at this time, and to come back later.
Yeah.
And
I should have done a screen capture just before that. It would have been good.
Okay, well, this session is almost over, and all of us are going to quickly run to the Toastmasters site and see if we can do the assessment.
It ended because I went out of it, and I called my sister in the other room, and she tried it, and she got the message that she was no longer a paid member. So it really freaked her out. And I could see it going all over the region that people were getting, if they happened to go on at that point in time, because I got the email that it had gone live. And I thought, oh, thanks for telling the Pathways guys it went live. I had a schedule. So when I logged on and saw I could take the assessment, I backed out of it. Now I wish I'd done it.
Just so you know, there has been an error that's been reported. I had at least one other member who went in and said that your membership isn't valid, that you're not a paid member. And I talked to TI today, and they said that is a glitch that it happens infrequently, but it has been happening. It's supposed to come back with a message saying that Pathways hasn't gone live in our district yet, but every once in a while it somehow messes up and gives us a wrong message. Roberta, there it is. Happened to you. Okay. Sorry it happened to you, but it doesn't mean you haven't paid, because I really did want to check and want to make sure that the person had paid, that there was no issue with it. It was just a technical glitch. They confirmed. All right. We have final words. We have 6 minutes left to this call. I'm going to go back through the Pathways guide. It's going to start from, I'll start from the bottom back up from the last one. Dorothy, any comments about Pathways you want to give to the audience?
My comment is that don't be afraid to just get on and start, even if you don't choose a path. Just start. You don't be left behind where everybody else is picking up this new lingo that we're using. Because I remember when I started, our club kept using the acronyms CC, CL, ACB, all those things. And I'm like, what the heck is that? And I see the same thing happening with Pathways. If we're not using the lingo, you don't feel like you're part of the clan.
Thank you. Good point. Jody.
I'm just so excited for it. I've loved going. The best part was going to visit all of the clubs. And I know we see people at trainings and contests, but people really do belong to the best club. The club you're in, everyone has so much pride, and I, for one, have found everyone so excited. I know there are clubs that have been using the Icebreaker project for their new members since it's come out, and our Division K director delivered her Pathways Icebreaker 2 or 3 weeks ago, so that the whole club got to see what the new evaluation form looks like for it. And I love the way it's making it more objective, and that we're moving forward in a new way that we haven't done in a long time.
Excellent. Okay, Sharon.
I just would like to suggest that everybody get a copy of the Paths and Competencies document and review that so that you're familiar with the different paths before we launch. And get on Pathways and do the Icebreaker as soon as you can. I'm excited.
Thank you for that.
And I think everybody else would benefit from just checking out that document for sure.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for staying up so late. I know you have a very early morning wake-up call, so I'll let you go in about 2 minutes, or a couple minutes. Wes Arnold. Where are you? There you are.
So I'm really excited about this. We had our first member do their Icebreaker in Pathways about a week ago. It was great. It was interesting to get the evaluation materials and have one of our seasoned members work through it. So that was fantastic. One comment I'd like to make to help especially if we have any executive people on, there's been a suggestion that you get a club email and connect Basecamp management functions to a common email so you don't overload your VPE. So that's something I'm trying to arrange with my own club, and something that I think it's really important to get going on even before the rollout.
Good point. Thank you. All right. Rebecca.
Well, I want to give some encouragement to the fellow who asked about the DTM. You know, how long do I have to get the DTM? And to tell him, you can do it. Do it. And just from a personal story, this was me when I first started in Toastmasters a very long time ago in college. And when I came back, I got my CTM, that's what they called it back then. Of course, we had area governors and, you know, all the language changed. I came back and it was total chaos, alphabet soup, and I was completely lost. And that was 5 years ago. And I will be getting my DTM next month. And but 1 year ago, I got my first CC, and then I was embarrassed. I've been in Toastmasters for so long, and I only had a CC. So I said to myself, I want to change this. I want a DTM. There you go. You can do it. You can do it.
Thank you for that. Deborah Richards.
I just want to say that I'm excited about the new program, and for those who've been in Toastmasters for a while, there's some people that are a little bit scared about going into it. I'm excited about it. It certainly gives options for folks, and I've seen new people to the club looking excitedly at some of the paths that are coming up. And so I just say, you know, we just continue to promote the positive change that's happening, because the fact that there's so many options, it really is, I think, going to help a lot of people. And it might bring some people back to Toastmasters who want to have a slightly different experience.
Very good. Okay, well, thank you all to our panel. I really appreciate the Pathways guides, Deborah Richards, Wes Arnold, Sharon Marshall, Jody Bird, Dorothy Miller, and especially our guest from District 2, Rebecca. I really appreciate you coming in and helping out, and all of you for all the work you've been doing, going out and visiting the clubs, making sure that everyone is up to speed on what they need to do to be ready for Pathways. We've got a rollout in 2 weeks. It's very exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a major change for everybody. We have to accept some of that change and figure it out, but we're going to have a lot of fun. So I really appreciate you guys all helping out, and I appreciate all the attendees for asking all the good questions and challenging us. And we'll, if there's any questions that are left outstanding, I'll try to get them and post them onto the website if I can figure out how to capture them. So thank you all, and have yourselves a lovely evening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.